Welcome to this incredible episode of Insider Gaming's Access Granted, hosted by me, Grant Taylor Hill. What a show I have today. In this episode, I am joined by Troy Baker, probably one of the most recognizable names in the entire world of gaming. You might know him best as Joel from The Last of Us, or Booker DeWitt from Bioshock Infinite, Talion from the Middle-earth games, the Joker, Pagan Min from Far Cry, Higgs from Death Stranding and Death Stranding 2, Indiana Jones, Sam Drake from Uncharted, Ocelot from Metal Gear Phantom Pain, Delsin Rowe from Infamous, Jack Pepper from Mouse PI, Jonesy from Fortnite, Loki from Marvel Rivals, and hundreds and hundreds of other roles. So join me in the longest episode of Access Granted yet to talk about everything with Troy Baker, from philosophy and art, to the games he plays, to what he recommends, to what he's doing next. Here's Troy. I don't know if you will remember, but we did speak before, actually, but it's a couple of years back. The last time we caught up wasn't even for something tied to gaming. You were doing an audiobook for James Cox, Grand Theft AI.
Indeed.
And we spoke about that, and that was the first time that we ever spoke. And I was supposed to catch you at the BAFTAs. I was there, but I just didn't get. We just didn't have the schedules didn't align. But it feels like forever ago since we did speak. So I think to jump in, how are things? What are you up to? What's been happening these days with you?
Dude, I'm never one to rest on my laurels. And I've this industry has a current to it, and I can either swim upstream or try to at least stay in the flow. And so that's what I'm constantly doing. I mean, we're always in production on something. Right now we're smack dab in the middle of Intergalactic with Naughty Dog, which is just amazing. I don't know how they continue to not only, speaking of people who don't like to rest on their laurels, it'd be so easy for them to just, kind of crank out another one. And there's a studio that is constantly trying to reinvent themselves, to adapt, to challenge themselves. And this is definitely the most ambitious game that they've ever made. And that can be said of every game that they've made.
Just the iterations of ambitiousness, every single one just gets better.
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, you got new tech at your disposal, right? There's the tools that we have available now to make games are so much more vast. Just from a pure, I remember so many of the games we used to work on is like they would spend all this time on the VO and the sound effects and the music. And I remember a composer one time telling me, he was like, it just sucks that this is going to get crushed down to 32-bit. It's like you take all of this
and compress the hell out of it.
Because we got to fit it on the disc. And it's the same way that the music industry was at, to where, before you had 22 minutes per side. And anything over than that, you started to degrade the fidelity of the music. So you had a choice. You could either write a shorter song, or you could allow that low end that you really wanted to be there to punch to lose a little bit. You'd have to roll off like 3 dB of 80 hertz and below, or 120 hertz below, so that it literally would, the grooves of the lathe would be able to cut and fit all that on there. And then we moved to cassette. Well, now we've got 44 minutes, or we've got 45 or 60 minutes now. So you can do 30 minutes per side if you wanted to. And we started writing songs differently. And then all of a sudden now we have CDs where you can do 75 minutes or 90 minutes on a CD. And then now you can just literally let Spotify play to infinitum.
Yeah.
And we're writing songs differently. We're not only are we creating differently, but the audience is engaging with it differently. And so if I sit back as an artist and I go, oh, I'm going to keep doing what I've always done, I will find myself going the way of the dodo and very quickly being antiquated. So my job is to constantly find, what have I not done yet? What scares me? What challenges me? And that's where I find myself now. It's not just waiting for the phone to ring to pick up, the next job, but it's like I'm literally, as you were signing on, I'm going through a design document about things that I'm wanting to develop and ideas that I have, and and finding out the pain of the execution of the idea, not just the creation of it.
Yeah, and as much, I mean, I'd love to. There's a couple of segues there, right? Because you talk about Naughty Dog, you talk about Intergalactic. There's a few. So, because I'm a huge Last of Us fan. I think when we spoke last, I have some artwork, and I think I showed you one last time. So I have, so I have Ellie's tattoo here, but on the inside of my arm, I have a whole clicker. And huge fan. And I was in Summer Games Fest last year, and I bumped into Neil Druckmann, and it was like a double take because I didn't realize it was him. And I was like, "Are you Neil Druckmann?" Because you do that even if you know it's them, just because you're never really sure. And he thought I was a crazy fanboy, I think, because I was like starstruck. And I flipped my arm down, and he just completely switched, and he like grabbed his phone to take a video of it, and it was fantastic. But I'm a huge fan of The Last of Us, but I understand that's probably a topic that gets rinsed to death. So I'm going to segue a different way, because you're talking about challenges. You're talking about the next big thing. And I know recently there was talk about you maybe going into opening your own studio, and you just said about sort of things you want to develop. What's all that about?
My buddy Greg Miller, I love talking to him, and I've known Greg for 15 years. And, you know, we're wrapping up the conversation, and he just, so what's next? And I was like, I'm just talking to my buddy Greg, and I'm like, well, you know, I mean, I've always wanted to do this. And boom goes the internet. It's a slow day at the
it's one of those.
IGN. And so they decide, and what my favorite one was like Troy Baker retires. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
We ain't there yet. First of all, pump the brakes. And so no, it's more of I'm enjoying very much, and this has been how I've always worked. I've always loved swimming upstream and going to the source. And that at first was born out of a necessity to understand the process. And I would come up with ideas on set or have questions on set, and they're like, that's a great question, or that's a great suggestion. You should have been here 3 months ago when we were hashing this scene out, and maybe we could integrate that. We're not in ideation phase, we're in execution phase. And so once I discovered, it's not about bringing these ideas to set. As an actor, I can do that, but if I really want to have impact, I need to be maybe in the writer's room. Okay, so I go to the writer's room. Like, no. You need to be in the design meeting. Okay, so I'm going to try to go to the design meeting. No. You actually need to be at the pitch meeting. And so it's just working my way constantly up. And I'm at the phase right now where I tell everyone, is like, I'm trying to be in as many Slack channels as I can. And I'm trying to be in any, daily stand-ups for game jams that I can be in, because I'm just learning so much. And there's a difference between working for a studio, working with a studio, and working at a studio. And I think more actors would benefit greatly from the understanding of where they fit in the machine. And there was a studio that I was talking to just the other day. I said, you really should bring your cast together for one Zoom call and watch the actors' eyes as that Brady Bunch window just continues to expand and expand and expand. And they realize, wow, I understand there's characters that I'm talking to on the page, but to see how many people are involved in this project, it really is quite a thing. And that's just the cast. That's not talking about all the producers, all the animators, all the coders, all the engineers, all the people that go into making this on a small game. And I love it. I've really enjoyed learning the pains of development. And I feel like it makes me a better artist. It helps me when I'm working with studios to understand more about where I can slot in as a solution or step back. And I'm sure there's been a lot of people that I've worked with over the last 20 years that wish I had learned these lessons 20 years ago.
Yeah. Hindsight, what is it? 2020. I don't know what the saying is. Hindsight's a beautiful thing or something. But that's interesting, because I mean, that's one of the reasons why, we put this show together, is because it's like almost sometimes it's like the unsung heroes, or the people that need to get their flowers that sometimes don't. Like I was, one of the most recent episodes we did, I was talking to Sam Bayer about their role in like Baldur's Gate and some other bits that they've done. And they do a show called It Takes a Village. And it's literally that, where they'll pull in everyone from composers to designers to all aspects of it. And we're talking like long form stuff, like a couple of hours, just a deep dive into how they got into the industry, what they kind of contribute, how they see it from their perspective. And the takes are fantastic. And I love that because, I mean, the title's right. You know, it takes a village, right? It really does. The amount of people that go into it, because we were talking about that, saying that a lot of people will see a game and they might just see like the characters, right? And they don't realize what goes into bringing that all to life. And especially these days where we have a lot of stories about maybe projects not making it, you know, studios being closed down, projects being cancelled, layoffs. It really does paint a picture of the depth of how people can be affected by it. Like, it's not just the top level people that you see. Like, I do a lot in competitive gaming, in esports. And again, similar picture. People see the players, they don't realize everything that goes into bringing a tournament to life. So I really like that way of looking at it. You talk about, you know, back in the day, I have to go back to The Last of Us a little bit, because again, there were some tidbits that came up recently about when like Joel came to life and when you were auditioning for him, and it slips me where this interview was. But again, it was things like you don't know then what you know now. But you were talking about how when you went to audition for Joel, and, you know, we're talking about taking these leaps and doing things that might scare you. When you went to audition for Joel X years ago, you almost didn't, because, you know, I'm not quoting verbatim, but you walked into the room and you thought, I'm not like any of these guys. I can't read for this 50-year-old gruff man. And then lo and behold, you snapped it up, right? So, I mean, that's a similar story, isn't it? Like, if you hadn't have taken that dive and gone in, and then, you know, cracked on and got it over and done with, then, you know, you wouldn't have landed that. So do you look back at that and think maybe you were a bit like hard on yourself then, or was that like a typical approach? Oh, an arrogance. See, the way I read it was like you were unconfident about being able to deliver the role.
No, I mean, this is the funny thing about imposter syndrome, or, you know, I see a lot of times people, they want to appear as if they're modest. And if someone goes, "Hey, you did a great job," and I go, "Oh, no, I thought it was awful. The situation was bad. It's not what I wanted." That is not modesty. That is the epitome of arrogance, because I automatically said, your opinion has less value. My opinion has more. And so when I walked in, I went, oh, I'm not what they're looking for. I'm not good enough. My opinion of myself, based purely out of my fear, was more valuable and more important than theirs. I'm not the one casting this thing. And I've done this consistently throughout my career. I did it with Joker, where I told Ames Kirchen at WB Games at the time that, you know, I just don't think that I can do this. And the truth was, I was on a run. I was hitting good. And if I put myself in a position where I was out of my comfort zone, I could have failed. That immediately implies that I didn't trust the team. That's a very arrogant thing to say. And Ames was like, we're really smart and we think you can do this. So why don't you trust us? I did it a third time. You'd think I'd learned my lesson by that point. I did it a third time when Tom Keegan, performance director for Indiana Jones, came to me and said, I like you for the role of Indy. And I was like, do they want Harrison Ford? And he goes, yep, they want 1981 Harrison Ford. I went, I'm going to pass off 2 names to you. And I love how Tom responded. He goes, thank you. I'm casting this.
Yeah.
Me director, you actor. And I'm constantly having to remind myself, there are people that are smarter, more experienced, and in a different position than I am, that are making these decisions. And this goes down to the casting of the job, to the selection of the take. When I really am honest with myself, the reason why I fight and I push back, or I don't think that I'm right for it, is because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that someone's going to think I'm a bad actor.
Yeah.
And the second that I liberate myself from the fear, I'll tell you a funny story, man. I just shared with a buddy of mine too, who's going through something similar. I said, we just got back from a vacation, a holiday in Europe with my family, 3 weeks. And there was, my son just requested, so I'm sorry. It's a simple pleasure, but one of my favorite things is when my son texts me. And he's 8. And he's just like, hey, Dad, can I get this? And I'm like, yeah, man. So I take my family to Florence. And I tell my son, Traveler, I was like, look, if this bounces off of you, if it doesn't land for you, doesn't resonate with you, it's fine. You don't have to have the same experience with it that I did. My job is to expose you to it. And I want to show you this is the. And so I take him and we walk into that museum, and there is defensively, inarguably, the greatest sculpture that is the most portrait of perfection that has ever been crafted by a human right there in front of us. And we spend an hour doing the tour, talking about it, learning about it. He's asking questions. And it always just moves me so much. One thing that I didn't think about is, and the tour guide said this, he goes, with sculpting, details come first, foundation comes last. And I'm like, man, you can't add, you're reducing. And so I'm sitting there, and my son finds an open chair that's about 10 feet away, and he's in this very ardent, fervent mode of constantly drawing. And so he's sitting there at the feet of the David, sketching the David.
Yeah.
And I'm going, man, I'm smashing it as a dad right now.
Yeah.
It's just great. And then I'm standing there, and I'm taking this beautiful moment in, and there's a dude to my right, and we're both looking at the David, and he looks at me and he goes, American? And I went, yeah, I am. And he goes, swollen ankles. And I'm thumbing at the David, and I went, I'm sorry, what? He goes, swollen ankles. As if I've uncovered, you think this is so great, but look, it's not that great. David's got swollen ankles. And I paused reality for a second, and I went, Michelangelo, at 24 years old, convinces the government, give me this commission, I will give you the symbol for the city. He goes out and he finds a rejected piece of marble that had been tossed away by the church, that institution, rejected by 2 other artists as impossible to work with as a medium. He spent 2.5 years of his life. Every strike of his hammer against the chisel could have caused the entire thing to crumble. He creates this absolute masterpiece. It's not used the way he was told it was going to be used and intended to be up 80 feet suspended on top of the Duomo, but actually it's going to be now placed on a pedestal outside for almost 400 years, surviving wind, rain, birds pooping on it, people staring, spitting on it, peeing on it, all of this until 1857, when someone goes, we should probably move this inside a building to preserve it. And then they put in a turnstile, and billions of people come all the time to witness this thing, to drag their families and pay a fee to stare at this thing. And this fucking guy goes, swollen ankles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's art. That is art.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do. I cannot base what I do upon the reception or the perception of the audience. I hope that I move them. But that can't be my goal. And so when I'm on set or I'm in the booth and someone gives me a piece of direction that I'm against, I realize for me to go, you can't use that one, is me fighting against that douchebag who's going to think I've got swollen ankles. I'm there in service to the art.
Yeah.
And until it is me with the chisel and hammer in hand, I am there at the behest of the artist.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's an incredible story. I mean, because you had me thinking,
Have fun cutting that up, by the way, for socials.
That's the editor's job, not mine. But you had me thinking as well about the whole swollen ankles thing. It was like, even if it was what some might view as an imperfection. There's that. Again, the term or the concept eludes me, but it's the Japanese thing, isn't it? About like they have a piece of broken pottery and they repair it with like inlaid gold. That's what it's. Where the act of putting it together and having its perfections makes it more beautiful for it still standing despite those imperfections. It's that kind of concept, isn't it?
Do you know the story of how that came to be? It's even more beautiful.
I don't know.
Maybe someone from your audience will correct me, but as I understand it, as it was told to me, it was between two warring tribes. They sent pottery as a gift, and the warring tribe received this gift, smashed it, and sent it back as a message. That team or that tribe that made that took the pottery together and welded it and put it back together using gold and sent it back. And it's this notion of sometimes the gifts that we give are rejected by their intended recipients. Our job is not to judge them for that. Our job is to continue to give and to use our most precious resources and our artistry to continually give, not take conditionally.
There you go. I've learned something. I've absolutely, because I've known about that thing for years, but I didn't know where it came from, and I'm a sucker for history. So that's a beautiful concept. I love that. What I want to do.
There's a great restaurant in London, in central London, called Hyde, Hide, and they have this private dining room called the Kintsugi room, and all surrounding you in this room are pieces of the broken pottery, and that's where I learned that story.
That sounds like it might be out of my price range. I don't often go to private dining suites, but maybe one day, maybe one day.
I was the benefit of someone else picking up the tab for sure.
Oh, nice. I mean, it's just down the road, isn't it? I'm like, central London for me is like a half an hour on a train. So maybe one day, but kind of moving on. I mean, this stuff is epic. We've gone deeper than any one of these episodes so far. This is fantastic stuff. But to take it back to gaming. So obviously, we dip into the actor piece. The aspirations, where we're going, where you kind of come from. Like right now, obviously you said you're always looking for the next challenge. You're in as many chats as possible, stand-ups, projects. It's all going on. Do you find time to actually play video games these days?
Man, yes. As a matter of fact, I have to carve out time to do that. I think it's weird because in development, there's a music producer that I worked with a long time ago that said, when we're in the studio, turn off the radio. Don't listen to music because you will invariably just emulate what you're digesting. But in the process where I'm at right now, I think it's very important for me to just maintain a grasp of where the industry's at and like what's hitting, what's not. And so especially on flights, handhelds are great. So my Steam Deck and my Switch are like always with me.
Oh yeah.
But I just finished, as a matter of fact, last night, I played this amazing game, super small team called And Roger, and came out earlier this year or last year, and has a tremendous score. It's a beautiful story, heartbreaking story about a woman with dementia or Alzheimer's, and what life looks like from her perspective. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking. It took me maybe an hour to beat, and it was so moving that I'm very discreet about which games I suggest that my wife plays, because she's played, on one hand she can count the games that she's played.
Yeah.
They've all been because of my suggestion. Thomas Was Alone, Inside, there's maybe been a couple of others, but Ann Rogers is going to be one of them. She started chapter 1 last night. I rolled credits on Replaced a few days ago, which was made by Sad Cat Studios, another independent studio.
In my backlog, one of those, yeah.
It put it to the front, man. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, they just announced they're about to put it up on Switch. So they're going to... it's great. If you like 2.5D cinematic platformers, it's got way more story than you would think. And it's got some great side quests that really kind of build out the world.
Yeah.
And then Mouse PI for Hire was
I
just finished playing. So much fun, man. Whether or not you like shooters or not, this does. And the thing that I love, again, talking about artistry, is that everything was hand drawn. You've got
It
classic 2D
looked
animation. It's in
phenomenal,
3D
didn't it?
space.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. It really,
Super
really is great.
unique.
So yeah, man, to answer your question, I'm constantly playing games. It's like everybody else, everyone says the same thing. It's like, oh, my backlog is huge. And the truth is that we're not wanting for games. We're not wanting for good
Oh,
games.
definitely. Yeah.
Um, we're wanting for the time to be able to play them. So as I think about some of the experiences that I want to craft, I'm thinking about what are those good 3 to 5 hour weekenders that
Mm,
you can kind of crush, or what does it look like to be able to have a game that you can constantly revisit because there's something new that's happening. So
yeah.
um, yeah, that's very much of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. Like a lot of what I've got into over the years has been these really like long form live service shooters and stuff that go on for ages. My vibe is really like post apocalypse kind of. That's where I really sit. But like you say, these short form emotional games, some of those they leave such an impression on me. Like there was one that came out
Yeah.
years ago called To the Moon. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. It's
No.
this like, I think it was made in like, what was it called, RPG Maker, this like little 8-bit pixel looking thing. You look at it, it's quite unassuming, but it became this like cult classic thing for being like one of the saddest games you will ever play in your life. You can get through the whole thing in like 4 hours, and there's one achievement at the end of the game, and it's to finish the game. But I played it, and my wife watched me play it. She was in tears. The first time I played it, I
I'm
was in
looking it
tears.
up.
Markiplier
To the
played it. He
Moon.
was in tears. Everyone who played this game on stream was, in bits. And it's a beautiful game. Really, really beautiful game. But that's an example of titles like that I really do like. Those emotional ones that maybe they don't even have a lot driving them. Maybe somebody would dub them a walking simulator. But like you say, it's the score and it's the concept and it's the catharsis you come away with that I really do appreciate. So
Well, there's a game that's out right now called Don't Touch the Snail that I think is brilliant and is so punk. Like with everything that where the industry, and I constantly use that word very, very purposefully, where the industry is at, which was trying to salvage itself. It's trying to find ways to keep itself sustainable. It's not, I think it's an erroneous conflation to think that everyone's these greedy fat cats with, Scrooge McDuck money bins that are just swimming through their money. It's not true. Everyone has a financial and a moral responsibility to keep the people on their payroll gainfully employed as much as possible.
yeah,
And they're
yeah.
trying actively to do that. If that means live service games are how they're trying to do that, so be it. We're seeing that model shift. But then you've got these live, agile, ambitious indie makers, like this dude that made Don't Touch the Snail, where it's like you have one life, and if the snail touches your cursor, that's it.
Is it based on that
And I'm
thing
like,
of what was it? You can live forever, but there's a snail chasing you, and if the snail touches you, you die. Is it that thing?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And it's absolutely genius. I'm like, that's someone who says, I don't care about the money. I'm not trying to now Don't Touch the Snail 2 or DLC or skins or anything else.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
making a great concept of a game because he can, because there's no one that he's really beholden to. He's making this in his garage. And I think that we're about to, my buddy Austin Wintry has put it as thus, and I have to give him credit for it. He goes, we have been in the 50s and 60s era of film. That's where games have been, making these big, huge epics. And where we're about to be is in the 70s, where you have your Coppolas, your Michael Manns, your George Lucases, your Scorseses that are making these really, really small, tight movies that will inspire a whole other generation of game makers. And I can't wait to see the kind of games that come out of that era.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, where I am, I see all the naysayers and such, and I'm in love with gaming right now in every aspect of it. I feel that there's always things that are surprising me. There's always something new to dive into, and I'm a really multi-faceted gamer. Like I'll give anything a try, and the amount of things that are coming out. We just did a showcase actually the other day called the Insider Gaming Showcase, poised entirely around taking these games that don't have publisher backing, that don't have funding. There might be one or two people, and just putting it into the spotlight and showing people this is what these tiny devs are doing. This is their dream. We're going to support that. So I love all of that. That is absolutely fantastic stuff. I do want to, we'll push for time. We do have we do wrap these little access granteds with a quick fire round of 10 questions, all poised at gaming. Some of it naturally gets answered as we go through. But we'll see. I think we've kind of stepped away from most of it. But I do get the editor. We put some game show music in the background. I don't have a timer on screen or anything, but we'll rattle through. So Troy Baker, are you ready for your 10 questions?
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Question number 1. What's the first game you ever remember playing?
Oh my God, Pong.
Pong. Oh, a Pong. So like as OG as it gets, basically.
Yeah, that's
phenomenal.
Like as OG as you. I was playing fetch with my Tyrannosaurus Rex, and we were playing Pong.
You cut a phenomenal 50. I will say that. We will say that. Question 2. Console or PC?
I'm probably more of a console guy, but I am being driven more and more to PC.
I went that way. Number 3, all-time favorite game soundtrack.
Oh,
It's a painful one for you, especially.
it really, really is. It's hard for me to divorce myself from Gustavo's score of The Last of Us, especially
beautiful.
right now because my son is into it and he's learning how to play it on piano.
I have to interject there because same thing. My son is 3.5. He heard the soundtrack and he does a lot of this echolalia. So he'll hear things and then he'll repeat them. And his big thing is music. And he heard it and he's going and he's humming back the tune. And as soon as it plays from another room, he runs in to listen to it. Beautiful. Maybe piano one day.
I would. Yeah, I would push him in that direction. Keep going.
Oh, was that it? Were we saying Gustavo? We were saying Last of Us.
I have to go with that one, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one. So number 4, if you could live inside any game world, which one would you pick?
Hold on.
There's so many.
There's so many. Absolutely not The Last of Us. No way.
We had Fallout before. Someone said Fallout. That was a bit surprising.
There's a part of me that says Bioshock just because that would be a fun way to get to work and I would never have to worry about food because there's always food in trash cans.
Are we above or are we below? Are we Booker or are we...
I would do Infinite, not Rapture,
okay,
for sure.
We're in the sky. Number 5, multiplayer or single player?
I'm more of a single player guy.
Single player guy. Number 6.
Trust me, I've definitely had my wonderful times of doing heists with my friends at GTA and having some great Call of Duty moments. But when it comes down to it, I'm a single player experience.
Yeah, that's the one. Number 6, toughest boss fight you have ever experienced?
Anything in Soulsborne.
Oh man, I don't even touch those.
Anything Bloodborne, Demon Souls, anything like that. Where it's just. And what's funny is, I could also say there's an old school one. There's Ninja Gaiden 3, where there was one where it was like, I don't know who hated humanity so much to create this and design this level, but there just wasn't enough health to get through that boss fight.
Yeah.
That was before Bloodborne. But yeah, 100%. Anything from like Bloodborne was going to take it.
Yeah, I've got a thing. I have to play games on the lowest difficulty level, which I do like. In recent years, they took it away from. They stopped calling it easy and they started calling it story mode, so you don't feel like you're less validated as a gamer, which is nice.
Yeah, but everyone still knows you're being judged.
A bit, yeah. Like there was a thing a couple of years back. Metal Gear Solid 5 comes out, Phantom Pain. You were in that, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Revolver,
yes,
Ocelot.
Ocelot.
Yeah, that's the one. I feel like I should say you were in that in basically every game that I've ever played. But they had
just copy paste. It works.
They had the thing where it got to halfway through the game, and it's like chapter like Act 2 or whatever, like second half, and you replay the same missions as earlier, but on the hardest difficulty. And I was like, yes. That's a scam. I was like, I just basically got, because I was trying to play it through all easy, and then they're like, nope, you're definitely going to play it as hard as we can. Like,
definitely going to be this hard.
Yeah, exactly. Question number 7. If you couldn't work in acting, what would you do?
I mean, anything. Look, it's such a cliche at this point, but I had to divorce myself from saying that I'm an actor. Because the truth is, and we hear this a lot now, but we're storytellers. That's what we're here to do. Some people go, no, I'm not a storyteller, I'm a filmmaker. That's what I do, I make films. But great. What I want to do is, if someone says you can no longer act, then I go, okay, that doesn't mean I no longer have a purpose. I can still do what I do in a varied way. So I reduce myself down to an artist or storyteller, and my job is to produce art and to tell stories. That's it.
That works. That works. Fantastic stuff. Where are we? Question 8. What is one thing, we touched on this, what's one thing in games that you wish you were just better at? Designing. Yeah.
Design. I really wish that I was better at design, so that I could. I really have such an admiration for people that were able to just design really, really good. God, that's good design. That's more than anything. More than me being able to play. I wish that I could design. That would be my favorite.
9. Retro or modern?
Man, there is something to me about a retro game where there's no tutorial, there's no how-tos, there's just get on and
yellow
figure
paint
it out.
or anything to, climb here. None of this stuff.
Yeah, it is just figured out. And Inside did a very good job of that, where it's like, we're gonna drop you in and figure it out. Again, Ann Roger does the same thing, where it uses those normal hey, this is how you set your game up and everything, enter your name, to help tutorialize you as to what the experience is going to be. So I really like games that don't dumb itself down for the audience, but go, you're going to discover your tools experientially, not through a HUD. I really like that.
Yeah, and Inside, it's like you said, Inside, I kind of slept on that. That was a fantastic game. At the end, becoming the giant meatballs was interesting. That's the one.
Game.
Final question 10, and we have touched on this a little bit. We've spoke about this a little bit, but if you could recommend one game to someone who has never played that game before, what game would that be?
Boy, it really depends on the person. If I'm talking to a gamer, I'm gonna tell them to play The Last of Us for sure. And I would say it's in its entirety. I would say play Last of Us, play Left Behind, play Last of Us Part 2. Experience that story. But I find myself saying, if I'm talking to a non-gaming person, which typically if I'm talking to a gamer, they're telling me about The Last of Us. I'm not having to tell them about The Last of Us.
Yeah.
But typically what I will say is I will go to either Journey or Inside. And be like, here are 2 games that you can play. Pick your platform. You can play it on your phone. You can play it. You just got a PS5. Go play Journey. Absolutely. That to me is like one of the easiest, most meditative. Obviously, it's got an incredible score with Austin Wintory's score. I will put that game forward more than I think I will almost anything else.
Absolutely. And a bonus one, because we spoke about The Last of Us a few times, but I have a dream, for The Last of Us, and I know it's Naughty Dog is busy doing what they're doing. You're there, So everyone always talks about a part 3. They always talk about what comes next, right? It's an open book. Like Neil keeps making his little references and stoking it a bit. But for me, what I would like, just a yay or nay. Do you think this is a good idea? A prequel story. I want to see Joel and I want to see Tommy and I want to see their time before in the breakdown. I want to see. That's what I want from a Last of Us game. Would you be? I'm not even gonna. I'll ask. Would you be on board for that?
Look, man, I would be on board with anything.
Yeah.
If Neil decides, that's why I'm in Intergalactic. If Neil decides that he has a place for me, then I've learned at this point to listen to him because he's really smart.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said, I want to know, there is this beautiful thing about the mystery of what happened between Tommy and Joel.
Yeah.
There is all the time, the 20 years, you've got such a beautiful lore to choose from.
That's it.
I think that makes a great foundation for a story. But I've also learned to trust Naughty Dog, and maybe there's a whole other story there that we're not thinking about. I don't know. My job is to, just like where Naughty Dog is at right now, our heads are down finishing Intergalactic. And once that's done, I'm gonna let Neil and Naughty Dog decide. As we look forward, are we looking back? Are we going to revisit something, or are we going to continue to reinvent? That's their call. But I will tell you this, whether it is something that you are playing or with me with a controller in hand, I'm there day one.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Super exciting. Well, this has been the most enlightening episode I've had so far. I feel like I've come away with 1,000 lessons learned. So, Troy, I want to thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Truly my pleasure, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
That was Troy Baker. I am still Grant Taylor Hill, and this is still Insider Gaming's Access Granted, and I hope you really enjoyed that episode. As always, do be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and engage, and let us know in the comments who you might want to see on the show next. And as always, I will hopefully see you on the inside.